Hey everyone, this is Johnny, and welcome to episode 113 of the Travel Like Boss podcast. I'm here with Cory Michael, originally from Pennsylvania, now out here in Chiang Mai. Welcome, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so Cory was just telling me that he used to work for the U.S. Embassy and somehow ended up being an entrepreneur, building private label brands. He makes over $10K a month, and he sold a couple for well over $300,000. So I'm pretty excited to talk to you about all this. Thanks for coming to the show.
Yeah, absolutely. I first got into e-commerce in 2013. So, yeah, that's how it all got started. Yeah, like I mentioned previously, I worked for the U.S. Embassy, but it turned out to be a lot of hours. And, I mean, pay was great for being 25, but I eventually got burnt out from doing that and don't have any wife or kids. So the next day I got saved up. I want to dive into something new. But the idea was to be location independent while doing that. So
like, did you read the 4-Hour Work Week, or how did you know you wanted to be location independent?
It just kind of accidentally happened. I did read the 4-Hour Work Week. I think I read that in 2012. I read that, and then also read Rich Dad Poor Dad. I think everybody kind of starts with those books, right? So, yeah, I read those books, and that kind of got the wheels turning a little bit. But I didn't really know what I wanted to get into.
So, how did you end up getting into like e-commerce, private labeling?
Yeah, so my friend in Myrtle Beach, he sent me a video about getting started with e-commerce, and that was kind of like the seed, the inception, if you will. That was the seed that got me going.
Nice. Do you remember what the video was?
Yeah, it was a video for a course called ASM.
Okay, so Amazing Selling Machine.
Right. Yeah.
Which a lot of people got their start through that, right?
Yeah. I think quite a few people did. And again, I don't call anything I do an Amazon business. As a matter of fact, I hate using those words because it makes you too close-minded and it puts you in a very risky position if you're calling your business an Amazon business or you're selling only on one channel.
Yeah, I like that. The fact that you're kind of thinking outside the box, that Amazon or FBA is like the first step into, and to be frank, it's like a great first step, right?
Yeah, it's an excellent launch pad. It's definitely a great launch pad. It's a great place to get consistent sales from. But that's just the beginning, like I mentioned. So,
yeah. So I actually just watched the latest video from ASM, which is now amazing.com, and they basically put out a video saying, "Hey, members of Amazing Selling Machine, sorry we haven't been in touch for 6 months. If you're wondering why we've changed from Amazing Selling Machine to amazing.com and no longer teach Amazon FBA, here's the update." Did you see that video by chance?
I did not, but I'm glad you told me, so I'm going to go ahead and look at that. Yeah, don't rely on any one source for anything. There's a lot of great sources out there to go ahead and learn about e-commerce. And it's not just private label. If you want to do dropshipping, if you want to do another means, digital products, there's all kinds of great courses out there. Don't rely solely on one.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's to me it was such a good way to get started, and maybe it still is for a lot of people. So it's kind of hard to say okay, that's that's not the way to go, because it's really easy for us, with the experience, with the income, to say no, let's do it the correct way. Let's do it, let's think about the big picture. Let's think about the brand. Let's think about saleability. But when someone is just getting started, I mean, did you have were you lucky enough to have the mindset of what, I'm just going to use this as a launch pad and then go next, or did you have smaller goals?
No, I had no idea what I was doing in the beginning. I only knew how to check my Facebook and email, so I was thrown into the dark blue with that, and I learned a lot of things the hard way because I didn't have too many mentors starting out. I lost a lot of money my first year.
Really? So what were you losing money on?
I was losing money on just trying to private label things that were patented. Turned out, let's see here, something that wasn't FDA approved. Yeah, so all in all, probably lost about $10,000 my first year.
That sucks.
Yeah, it was horrible, but definitely didn't give up, and I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Good. I mean, but I can imagine for a lot of people who that's their life savings, right? 10,000.
Yeah, that was a big deal.
Did you have a big runway from saving up working the embassy?
Yeah, I suppose I did, but I never really looked at it like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, for everybody who's listening, I guess we want to make sure you get as much out of this as possible, especially if you're just first starting out. You are constantly flooded with information with different courses and things like that. If you're just starting out and you're overwhelmed, focus on what affects you right now, not necessarily what you're going to use in the future. And that's a really good way to streamline your startup or streamline whatever you're getting into.
Yeah, I like that. This is great advice. So can you tell us, like, what was your, your first kind of hit? How did you kind of just get lucky on the first product, or did you kind of develop a system saying like, okay, I'm going to look to make sure it's not patented. I'm going to, make sure it's not a FDA product. Like, how did you kind of actually, start getting your success?
Yeah. So when I started out, there was there's no foresight on my part, but now I have a compliance team, and you can also do your basic trademark and patent searches on Google also. So you can have a compliance team. If you have an idea, you can give it to them, let them know exactly what you're doing, and they'll make sure it can be shipped into the United States. If you have an offshore factory, make sure it's legal, let you know about the tax implications. Different things like that. Trademark and patent you're going to need to look for too, depending on what you want to name your brand.
Wow. Okay. Yes. So now you're thinking kind of like really big picture, right? But someone let's say someone just wanted to get started and they don't have access to, lawyers, compliance teams.
Oh, no, everything I mentioned is free.
Is it really?
Yeah, that's no big deal. And it can all be done within a couple of days. So that's not a big deal at all.
So how would can you give me just some quick tips on how people would be able to do that?
Yeah. You would just, for the shipping compliance, you would talk to a freight forwarder. And you could let them know what you're planning on doing, and they can just pretty much write you up an email, and give you the go ahead or ask you additional questions.
Okay.
The rest you can do on Google. That's all. This is just a 1 or 2 day thing.
Really? Okay. So let's say I wanted to sell spatulas, right?
Yeah, inside joke. Yeah.
Yeah, and would I contact a freight shipping company and say, hey, I want to import 10,000 of these? Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. They would probably ask you what the what they would be manufactured from. Like, most likely it'd be silicone, right? So okay. They would ask you a little bit of details about that. Maybe check your design, make sure it's not something that somebody has a design patent on, for example.
So the actual freight shipping company would check that for you for free?
Yeah, they should be able to do that. No problem. You should also do your own research, but they should be able to do a lot of that for you if they have a compliance team.
Okay. And then when you say FDA, are you talking about supplements or what?
Oh, well, I mean, the FDA regulates a lot more than just supplements, like BPA-free bottles, different ingredients, different things like that.
Okay. And so how would you figure out, let's say I wanted to import water bottles and they're BPA-free. How would I get in touch with the FDA to figure that out?
Oh, you probably wouldn't have to get in touch with the FDA, but what you would have to do is you'd have to check the manufacturer's certifications to make sure everything's in line, make sure they're current, and then also give those certifications to the compliance team of the freight forwarder. Okay. And they would check and be like, yeah, okay, this is fine.
Okay, I like it. So let's talk about kind of the actual brand building, because I think a lot of these things, they do take time, but I don't want that stopping anyone from starting.
Yeah, for sure. You some things you just have to dive into, and this is one of those things that's no exception.
Yeah. Okay. So I like it. So when you start building a brand, right? And do you still test it on Amazon now, or how does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I kind of got to a point where I know what to expect. I mean, I would evaluate the competition, evaluate the difficulty of the particular product to break into. But yeah, I mean, if you're going to test a market, just go with a low MOQ, maybe like 500 to 1,000 units, or maybe less, depending if it's really something really expensive cost per unit. Give it a test and go from there. If it goes through, first off, if it's not something that works, don't stress much. You can just sell it all out and then put that money towards something else.
Okay.
But
have you ever had a product that you ordered 500 of because that was a minimum, and then they just didn't sell?
Duds, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Well, I'm sorry, didn't sell. I'd never had that problem. They would sell, it would just be very slowly.
Okay.
And maybe it didn't turn out to work the way I wanted it to with the profit margins and the marketing, setting up the websites, things like that. So I've had duds before, but the only catastrophic failures I've had was the ones that got ripped down for legal reasons.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But other than that, no, don't stress about something not selling. As long as you have those eggs in a basket, I'm sure you can liquidate it.
So the ones that you said that you got ripped down for legal reasons, are those ones that were patented or?
Yeah, I don't even mind telling you what those were. One was a fire starter. It was like a piece of metal you could use to start a fire. It's great for camping, things like that. Had a design patent on that. The other one was a heart rate monitor that wasn't approved by the FDA. So obviously that wasn't even let inside the country.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for people at home, probably don't sell things that are medical devices in general. Right?
Yep.
And then the second is if it has a really cool feature, like being able to start a fire, with a certain way, and it's not just like a generic product. Maybe look into patents for that.
Yeah, and you could have a patent search done, or you can do some basic Google research yourself. And you should also be asking the factory also. Don't take their word for it, because again, if you're dealing with certain factories, they're just going to tell you what you want to hear to make money. But definitely get their opinion about things too.
So like for the fire starter example, like how would you actually find out that that's something patented?
If I would have done basic Google research and or a patent search, like I mentioned, I would have found that out.
So like, would you actually Google like the brand or the name, or would you Google?
Yeah,
like
I would have Googled
Firestarter?
the major competitor and see if they had a design patent on that particular shape, which
Okay.
they did. So yeah,
Okay.
that's just the way it goes. I mean, guys who are starting out, this is not going to be easy by any means, but sometimes you just have to keep punching and go through those things. And I'm glad I did, because it got to where I am today.
Yeah, actually, you know what? Let's start now and then kind of work our way backwards. Because I think
Cool. We can Tarantino it.
Yeah, because a lot of people are going to be kind of overwhelmed right now. They're thinking, man, like this is a lot more work than I assume it's going to be.
Right.
But is it worth it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's been worth it. I mean, I've made more money in the past 2 years than I did my entire life. So, yeah, it's definitely been worth it. But I mean, that's also going to come with a lot of responsibility too, like filing taxes, like, it's just been tax season, and then also keeping P&Ls and keeping track of your bank statements and managing your cash flow, et cetera.
So it's a real business.
Yeah, it's a real business for those who are still curious about that question.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people listen to this. They're either at a point where they're like, I just want to make a couple $100 or $1,000 a month so I can live somewhere cheap like Chiang Mai, and I don't want to deal with any of that. And I'm 100% in support of those people, because I think it's the first step.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a step I took, the step a lot of other people took. And it's definitely something I'm happy about. And I had a lot of good times the past 2 years, doing this. And I've also done a lot of personal growing too. But some people need to understand also, in my experience doing this, the biggest problem people have is running out of cash. So if you're going to do something, make sure that you are financially prepared to do what you need to do. In my case, like just one of my own personal theories, when I grow a brand, I don't take any money out of it from the first year. So all that 10K per month we were just talking about, usually I would put all of that into reinvestment of inventory, expanding to different channels, wholesale ideas, making my website better, more traffic, social media. So yeah, I definitely live well below my means and reinvest as much as possible.
I think, and that's super smart. And I think a lot of people that want to get into, I don't want to say FBA now either, because of what you just said earlier.
Yeah. Don't think that way. That's just a launch pad. That's just the beginning. But don't get it wrong. There's a lot of money to be made on that channel.
Yeah, and especially the way you're doing it. So to kind of break down, like your method of growing this private label brand, you're finding a great product. You're making sure it can actually be sold. It's not going to get taken down for FDA or compliance reasons, or copyright, issues. You're going to test it on Amazon, make sure it actually sells, and then you're going to take the revenue from that you get every single month to build up the brand bigger on Amazon, or do you start like right away bringing it to your own brand?
Well, if you want to start out like using Amazon to fulfill and sell your products, that's no problem at all. But something you want to get on real quick is building that giant email list and creating return customers, because after that, you own them, and if they like you, they're going to continue to buy from you. They're going to tell their friends about you, and they're going to be repeat buyers. And then also you're going to be able to do email marketing, which is great. So you definitely want to have, even if you're just selling on Amazon to start out, you'd make sure you want to have a killer website, awesome email opt-ins, social media, and the email marketing we talked about, because that's how you build a big boy brand. You want to be a big boy brand here. You don't just want to be a random paperclip being sold on Amazon. You know what I mean? And especially, this is just something else I do. I do the most premium priced, expensive, best product there is. So that's one thing I do. I try to be the best I can offer. And I understand some people are going to go for the cheaper option, but I'm not interested in those people. I'm interested in the people who want to go with the best.
I've heard this so many times, and for most of my life, I used to not understand it because I was the cheap shopper. I would I would always buy the lowest price item regardless. And it wasn't until pretty recently when I started having a little bit more money that I started buying the premium products. And even like when it comes to like tea, right? I just bought some ginger tea the other day.
Love ginger tea.
Right.
Mix it with turmeric and some raw honey. Amazing.
And I remember I was at the store and there was one on sale for 30% less than the brand I normally buy. And I didn't even bother looking at it because I know the brand that I normally buy. And it's not even like this, it's not like a brand that you see on TV or anything. It's just, I remember looking at the back of it, looking at the ingredients and saying it's 100% ginger, it's quality ingredients, and no sugar added, things like that. And for the first time in my life, I decided, hey, even if this one on sale also checks out, I'm not even going to bother because, it's not the premium brand that I know is going to be good. And I think having this kind of mind shift, set shift makes me like that premium customer that we want to attract.
Yeah, and there's way more premium customers than just you and I. I mean, there's a whole world of them. And it's like you said, some things you just want to buy the best of, whether it's the ginger tea you just mentioned. If you're going to buy a sport coat, for example, you just want to make that purchase one time. You know what I mean? So, yeah, there's that. That's just the way I do it, and my way to go. That's all.
So Cory just showed me one of the brands that he created from scratch, and he ended up selling for quite a bit of money because we want to protect the new owner of the company. We're not going to say the website or what the niche is, but it's one of those products that it's pretty generic. Like it's one of those products that like you can kind of think of, if you go to like a sporting goods store and it's one of those things that you're like, oh, okay, this looks like a pretty good product that I might need for going outdoors. And can you kind of explain how long that took from starting it to selling it? And actually, how much did you end up selling it for, by the way?
Cool. So the sale price on that one was $140,000. That was the sale price. 10% went to the broker. And there was like one shipping bill that was in my name that I also had to pay, but the rest of the money went to my pocket. And nice. This is all before taxes. So it's still a big chunk of change I got to keep. So what this brand was called a water sports gear brand. But when I was developing it, I went with my theory I just told you about. I made sure it had the best materials, the best sewing, the best clips, the best straps, everything like that. So it ended up being, more money per unit, but I ended up selling it for more money than the competition also. Okay.
So how much was kind of the cheapest item and how much were you selling it for?
I think the cheapest one at the time was like $3.65 per unit. And then I was selling it for about $20 per unit.
So it was $3 on Amazon to the customer? Or is that
no,
your
that's
price?
how much I paid the factory per unit.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right.
Okay. And then the actual retail price?
The actual retail price was always between like 20 and 25.
Okay, for your unit?
Yeah, if somebody wanted to buy it, that's what they would pay.
Okay. And like, were there competitors selling it for cheaper?
Oh yeah, I mean still is competitors who are selling for like $10 or less. Okay. You know what I mean? But that's always going to be there. You know what I mean? You don't want to be part of the race to the lowest price because you're always going to lose that race because there's always going to be somebody bigger than you who can push their retail price lower if you're just selling generic stuff. But so I took that generic item you talked about and then I made it a premium version. So that's the way it went, and it turned out to go really good. So I actually built and sold this company within 1 year and 1 day. To go back to your previous question, and that was kind of mind blowing to me because I know maybe that sounds like kind of small ball to myself myself now, and then other people who are doing hundreds and thousands of dollars in their e-commerce store. But at the time when I sold that was a lot of money to be made.
Huge payday,
in 1 year and 1 day.
I mean, most people at home, they're dreaming about being able to make six figures in a year.
Yeah.
And what people don't realize is not only did you make six figures selling the business, but you also made money off of the store running it, right?
Right, I did. Definitely. I think it was probably $40K I kept or so by running the store. But like I said, all kinds of other money went into reinvestment. You know what I mean? So
like, were you like pulling like some profits out of it?
Yeah, of course, because I want to eat, obviously, and pay rent. So I was pulling profits out of it, but I always live well below my means. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't go and be buying extravagant things. I would just buy some really good health food, like we talked about, and then paying rent. I have my regular car and stuff. I don't even use a car out here, obviously, but yeah.
Okay. I like it. So exactly 1 year and 1 day.
That is for tax reasons. I'm
Okay.
not a CPA. I don't claim to be. And anybody who files taxes should use a professional CPA, and
Okay.
I'll take it from me. But when you build and sell an asset in less than a year, you have to pay additional taxes. So as long as the business is 1 year and 1 day, it's going to be considered long-term capital gains.
Oh,
not
that makes
short-term
sense.
capital
Oh, I like
gains.
that. That's
Yeah.
really smart.
Yeah. American passport problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in general, do people want to see 12 months of income as well?
Oh, well, they don't always want to, but what happens is a way a business gets evaluated is they look at your cash flow, and then they'll take your profit of 1 year, your most recent year, and multiply that by 3, and then whatever else you have in your business. If you have an awesome website that's ranked, if you have some good social media, a blog, all these, an email list, star on that email list. That's really important. All these extra add-on things will add value to your business. So that's pretty much the way it went. This was a very short life business because most businesses should be alive for 3 years before you consider selling it. So I mean, every contract's different. I mean, my contract was pretty draconian, so I took a little bit of a dive on the price to get most of my money up front, and then a short training period for the new buyer.
So, like, can I kind of explain that for people who've never?
Yeah,
sold
absolutely.
a site? Yeah.
If I'm talking too fast or I'm talking too deep, that's a problem I have. So yeah, you take over.
Yeah. Okay. So you say in the ultimate situation, a business has been running for 3 years, and then you might be able to get a 36-month multiplier. So if you make $1,000 a month from it, you should be able to get $36,000 for the site.
Right.
But you've had yours for exactly a year, and I'm assuming you put it for sale, before that year.
Right, that's
that
correct.
year was older. So, like, did people just kind of figure out, like, well, it hasn't really been 12 months, but let's do it. Let's do the average of the last 8 months.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and with my particular contract, the deal was done where I get 90% cash up front and then 10% after the 30-day training period.
Okay.
So also because I would that's a very draconian contract. That's going to take a little bit off the top of my price also.
So that's great for you because you don't have to wait 30 days to get the rest of it, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then normally, so the other offers, the ones that give you a little bit more, how long would they kind of hold that extra?
Oh man, I really again, I'm not a business broker, but just things I've seen in the past. There's guys who wanted to keep me on. There's guys who wanted to give me an extra payout after new products reached a certain amount of revenue. So every contract and every buyer is different.
Okay.
So I went through many. I talked to many different people before, coming to a deal with the final buyer.
Okay. So like, what were some of the offers that people have gave you that you rejected?
Let me see here. That was about a year ago. So it was just these things I mentioned before. Somebody wanted to offer me more money to stay on. Somebody wanted to offer me consulting fees. And then there's other people who were offering me more money up front, but the deal is I had to stay on, and some of the money would be left in escrow until certain revenue marks were met. You know what I mean? And I never wanted to go with any of those deals simply because I wanted to wash my hands, do something new, and be able to focus entirely on new projects. Because I don't know about you, but my mind can only handle so many projects at one time. So,
I know exactly what you mean, man.
2 to 3 is like my maximum.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, really smart of you. I like that. So,
and I do have a pretty good relationship with the buyers still, so I still talk to them. Anytime they have questions or if they want to share information with me or I want to share information with them, we'll just hit each other up on Skype. So we keep the relationship like pretty. What is it? Informal now.
Yeah. So what broker did you go through?
I used a broker called websiteclosers.com, and my broker's name was Greer.
Okay. And I'm assuming they're good, right?
Yeah, for sure. I'm actually still talking to them. I talked to them like a couple months ago.
Okay. Yeah, I'll check them out. Website brokers?
Yep.
All right.
I'm sorry, website closers. That
Closers.
was, yes, websiteclosers.com.
Always be closing.
Yeah, Grant Cardone thing, yeah.
Yeah, I like it. So how much was that business kind of profiting per month when you sold it?
Oh man, I'd have to open up my P&Ls on my computer. I mean, in Christmas, I know we did $65K in revenue in Christmas, and everything before that was always around the 20 to 25 mark, and I believe my profit margins were somewhere around 40%.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe a little bit higher, but
Okay.
at the minimum would have been 40%.
So do you know what your actual what do you call it? Like the multiplier was at the end when you sold it for 100? Was it 100 something thousand?
No, I think it turned out to be about like 2.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
But which is very fair, right?
Right. Yeah.
So that's what, 27%, 28% or something?
So let's see here. If it sold for 140, that means what's 140 divided by like 3?
Let's see, 140 divided by 3.
Where goes the math geniuses
you would
now?
think we'd be great at this. All right, that's 40.
Let's just say it's about 45K per year, right? And then a little bit less than that because, like I said, I sold real quick. In the beginning stage of the business, of course, we're not making that much money because we're just getting started. So, the first couple months was bringing in like, what, 10K, 15K?
Yeah, that
and
makes
then
sense.
it just grew from there.
Yeah, and I'm sure people will like seeing the growth as well.
Yeah,
oh yeah.
If you can, you always want to sell on the upstream, not the downstream.
Yeah, no, that's really smart. So you sold that first one for 140,000.
Yep.
And then you have all this money. Did you decide, hey, I'm gonna take a break, or did you jump straight into another project?
Oh man, this is the problem I have here. I was looking so forward to taking a break and just having very minor responsibilities for like at least a year, then breaking into something new. But then a new product idea and a new brand fell into my face, and I was like, this window's open now. It might not be open in the future, so I jumped on that.
Okay, nice.
And I'm glad I did because the first month we started selling with that new brand was over 30K in revenue.
Oh, nice.
And that's
Very
the
cool.
first month.
And when you say we, do you mean do you have partners?
Oh, well, right now I'm just by myself.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I have lots of people who work with me and work for me, but as far as being owner and operator, that's all me. Yeah.
Okay, nice.
By the way, this business I sold, I did this twice before.
Okay.
So I've built and sold 2 businesses.
Before this one?
Yeah, actually, it was kind of cool because these ones sold within 6 months of each other.
Okay.
So the scheme I told you with the one, it was pretty much just a repeat of the first time. The other business was older, and that one sold for, what was it, like they totaled 365. So 365 minus 140, that was... Here we go again with the sweet math.
365 minus 140.
Yeah.
Man, you would think as businessmen we'd be better.
So
at
there you
this.
go. 225 was the sell price on the other one.
Wow, so you sold it for $225,000. That's awesome. Man.
Yeah, I had a partner in that one, so I took 50%.
Okay.
Yeah.
So still over $100,000.
Yeah. Yep.
Do you know how much you guys actually put into the business?
That business that sold for 225 was started with about $30,000.
Okay.
The
Nice.
second business that sold for 140 was started with like $3,000.
3,000?
Yeah.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
great, man.
Yeah, like I said, the part of that $30,000, like $10,000 plus, was a loss. So
Yeah.
that didn't all go towards success.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm glad you bring that up because a lot of people, they don't hear that part of it, right? They
Right.
don't hear, that the first 10 grand is just in learning.
Yeah,
trial
hard
and
knocks
error,
learning. Yeah,
But
And-
then if you stick to it, then you start having the knowledge, experience for these big paydays, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very rare somebody succeeds on their first time. And those who do succeed their first time, they don't necessarily respect the dollar. You know what I mean? So, yeah, losses are a real thing. And I'm glad I had that experience early on, so I know not to repeat a lot of the mistakes that I made.
I think that's actually the number one trait of entrepreneurs who are successful. Every single week I sit down with a different entrepreneur, and pretty much 99% of them, they spent money, they failed, and they just kept going. They didn't have an excuse of saying, "Oh, this is BS, this doesn't work," or they don't get hung up on the hard parts of it. They just say, "Well, you know what? Lesson learned. Now I know. It's complicated. Business is complicated."
Yeah, and it sucks too because you pretty much just not have to quit, because this is the thing about business. It doesn't care how many times you failed. It only needs you to succeed one time. You know what I mean? It's not like a career. It's not like a college diploma, which I don't have, by the way. And business only cares about one success. It doesn't care about all the other failures. So as long as you keep punching, you're going to eventually, hit one out of the park.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I love that because it kind of gives people hope,
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, there's this guy like Gary Vaynerchuk. He gives reality checks quite a bit. So the only reality check I'm going to give you is, for anybody who's listening, is, like I said, the biggest reasons I see people fail is lack of cash or lack of cash flow or poor management of that cash and or cash flow. So definitely have your P&L, have your idea, and make sure you have enough money to continue growth. And reinvestment, like I said, all I do is reinvest. I just pull out just barely enough of what I need to pay myself, and have a place to live and food and, travel and splurge sometimes. But that 10K we're talking about monthly, it was over that. It was less than that. But most of that money always goes into reinvestment, even now, because like I said, with my new business that had the explosive growth we just talked about, yeah, sure. If I'm getting 30-40% profit margins on 35K, that's what, 15,000, 16,000, whatever. That's technically profit. No, I don't want to run out of inventory. I want to expand. I want to grow. I want to get bigger and better. And that's really the key to making a high profiting cash flow business.
I like it. Actually, it's this kind of reminds me of what I do with dropshipping. It's almost exactly the same. The only good, I would say the biggest benefit of dropshipping is there's no inventory costs.
I love that. That is, I tell you what I do is 80% fear, 20% skill. And that 80% fear comes from when you're making wires to a factory and you don't really know what's going to happen. You know what I mean? If you wire you wire, it doesn't matter. Everybody has a different opinion of what's big and small money, but when that money goes away, you don't know if it's going to come back, and that adds a level of stress. It's invisible, but it's there. And that's one thing I like about the dropshipping model, actually. I don't have a dropshipping store or anything like that, but I do like that the lack of overhead required is very, very cool. There's not very many business models you can do that with.
Yeah, it's definitely crazy, especially like startup costs, way less than $1,000 for dropshipping store. And for most people, if, besides like the learning curve, I think it's similar and different. I think that the benefit of the dropshipping learning curve is you can mess up 2, 3, 4 stores, and you might only spend $200 messing those up because you're not ordering any inventory. You don't actually spend any money on inventory until you sell something. But then there's also kind of pros and cons of both. I would say
there definitely is. I'll throw mine out there first. Obviously, with private label, that's what I do. That's what I'll continue to do as long as it's working, as long as I'm making good progress. The ability for fast growth with private label is really high. That's all up to you because you own the brand, you own the website. You can make more growth happen with private label. With drop shipping, the major pro is the lack of overhead required. And what's cool about both of these is as long as you're running them like a real business and you're keeping a hardcore P&L that you can prove in bank statements, they can both be sold. And that's what's awesome. That's why jobs aren't cool. You can't sell a job when you quit. If you have a successful business and you want to quit or move on, you can sell it. And I think you can sell, obviously you can sell private label stores. You can sell all kinds of other brick and mortar businesses. And you can too also sell drop shipping stores. Do you know anybody who's been doing that?
I wasn't going to mention it because I was going to save it for another podcast, but I'm actually in talks right now to sell one of my dropshipping stores.
All right, well.
So I'm pretty excited.
Stay tuned, viewers. Stay tuned.
But you're exactly right. As long as you keep accurate, so you call it P&L, profit and loss statements, and so basic accounting, right? And it's actually crazy how many people I've met who have, are doing maybe they're only selling let's say $10,000 a month in inventory, but then I'm like, oh, show me your accounting because they want some help with something. And they're like, oh, I don't have any. I'm like, what do you mean you don't have, you don't have a spreadsheet?
Yeah, you need that spreadsheet. You need that spreadsheet for tax purposes too. I mean, I know some people have different tax requirements in different countries, but oh man, yeah, you got to definitely keep that P&L, and you need to run things through at least an LLC, in my opinion, to put that level of protection between you and your business. So that's the way I do it. At minimum, an LLC, if not an S corp, when you get to certain revenue levels. But yeah, you really do got to do some accounting, at least on an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah. So actually, I have a question about when you sell and you get this big, let's say 100K payout, right?
Okay.
Do they normally just do it through a bank transfer, or how does that work?
Well, it's kind of like a house closing, a little Cold War, if you will. There's going to be a closing agent. So the buyer is going to send the money to the closing agent. I'm going to send all the details of my business to the closing agent, including names and passwords, etc. And once both of them are in the hands of the closing agent, they get the document and all the rights to the trademark and things like that, and the brand ownership, and then I get the money.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so with the money, does the government see all of a sudden, you go from making, let's say, a normal, let's say before you sell the store, right?
Right.
You might have 50 to 100K in income a month.
Right.
A year.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden this year you have like an extra $100,000.
This is all tracked, man. So whenever you are filing taxes for your e-commerce store, it doesn't matter if it comes from Stripe, PayPal, Amazon, eBay, all these things get reported to the IRS. That's why we get our 1099s at the end of the year. When this transfer of money happens for a sale of a business, you also get a 1099 from the closing agent. So this is not super secret hideable money, unless, of course, you have a non-U.S. passport or you have different tax rules.
Okay. So and then are you going to have to pay like a ton of tax this year?
I know. Thank goodness for my CPA. I give him the P&Ls. He checks them. I give him the 1099s. He checks them, everything like that. For selling a business, you generally fall under capital gains tax. For the revenue, as you know, when you're just running a business, you're going to pay capital gains. You're going to pay self-employment tax, these things. So these things add up. But I'm going to owe quite a bit of money.
I think it's hard because you're like, man, I have all this money. You see this big number in your bank account.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it drops. But at the same time, I guess we have to think of it as, half that money or, 40% of that money never was ours in the first place, right?
It's kind of a depressing fact. That's why I want to write off as much as possible. And that's another reason I jumped into a new business, is to make as many write-offs as possible for the year.
Oh, so, that's actually really smart, right? So when you start a new business, you're going to have more expenses. So you're just going to basically pile on new business expenses. Yeah,
absolutely. And you can definitely benefit from learning tax law for whatever country's tax laws you fall under, because an LLC, S-Corp, all businesses are able to have a car that you can write off to like 50%, maybe more, maybe depending on the car, I'm not too sure. But definitely learn your tax laws so you know things you can buy instead of having to pay all that money at the end of the year. You can write off as much as possible and have some cool stuff and further your business.
You can find business class.
Yeah. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that little one. What was that guy's name? He's got his act together really well. Sam Marks. Your buddy Sam. Yeah. He was mentioning that flight to Hong Kong. Definitely going to check that out sometime.
Yeah. I mean, these are great, great higher value problems. So I am actually still in talks with, I have two offers. One's for $65,000 and one's for $60,000. And what's really
Baller.
Thank you. Yeah, what's really great is it didn't cost me anything to start these stores. I probably spent way less than $1,000 to start it. So it's kind of like that scalability where, like with a private label brand, I think it's great because you can get a much bigger payout. But at the same time, there's the upfront costs and then the monthly reinvestment in the inventory.
Yeah, and the risk involved also.
And the risk, and the risk involved. With dropshipping, overall is a lower payout. I mean, I'm still super happy. Like either way, $60,000. I mean, that is more than I ever made in college. I went to college and I still never made $60,000.
Yeah, for sure.
And this is just like a 1 day payout basically, which is amazing.
That is amazing. And more importantly than the money you're going to gain from this, it's the skills you gained. The skills with Shopify, the skills with accounting, the basic overall business mentality, and those are priceless. You know what I mean? Yeah,
I'm actually already thinking, you know what? Once this goes through, I'm probably going to take a break. I'm going to chill out for a month or two. Hopefully, right?
Right, yeah. Yeah, maybe, who knows? Maybe you'll have the same situation I did.
Yeah, but then after that, I'm like thinking, well, you know what? When I'm going to start stores again, why not start it with the intention of selling? Because I think right now that one of the biggest problems I'm having is my paperwork's so messy just because, I never intended to sell any of the stores. I'm just like, I'm pretty happy making, 2-3K a month from it and just cash flow and just be able to live off of. Never had any intention of actually selling it. But the next stores, like definitely, I'm going to have that 12-month calendar and say, as soon as that 12 months hits, I'm going to flip the business. Everything's going to be like packaged already. So it's just out there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Pretty much handing over the keys, if you will.
Yeah.
Have everything all packaged and ready to go in the name of the business, the brand. Nothing attached to your personal name. Easy handover. Nice.
So I'm sure a lot of people are wondering, like, if these stores are, with these brands are making money, why would we ever sell them?
There's not a thing in this world I want to do forever. I mean, that's just me, though. There's all kinds of stuff out there and cool stuff to get into. And once you build yourself a little pillow, of cash, you can maybe get started in a new business, a new passion, even a disruptor business, something that could take longer, something you could do crowdfunding, something, big, something that could, change the world more than whatever you're doing now. There's always something else, there's no final solution to anything.
Yeah, I feel the same way. And for me personally, it's mainly because when I started the stores, there was no such thing as mobile responsive websites yet. So my stores on a iPhone, they just don't load right. And I'm like, okay, it's time to redo the whole website. And I was thinking, you know what? If I'm gonna redo everything anyways, I almost might as well just start another store. Like, it wouldn't be that much more work for me. Like, sure, I have to get new suppliers and think of a new niche, but I've done that now a few times. I've now had 2 or 3 stores now. So I'm thinking, you know what? This is a great handoff to someone else. Get a big chunk of cash, be able to chill out for a few months and just not have any responsibilities, and just know I had that money in a bank account or hopefully in some kind of another investment.
Yeah, there's all kinds of good stuff you can do, with that. Yeah, sure, you can keep the money and run it forever, but you could put that money into offshore index funds. You can put that money into private equity. This is this new stuff I'm getting into now, and I've had pretty good success doing it so far. There's all kinds of investments you can make with that money, and then you can even start a new business like we talked about. So there's always a future to look forward to.
Yeah, I like it. So what do you do? Like, what did you do with your money?
Okay, so with my money, I took about $60K of it and put it into my new brand. I took about $30K and put it into private equity. I took about $20K and put it into a non-US stock market. And everything has done really well so far. That's not always going to be the case. You're going to have losers, especially when it comes to investing in, things that are not yours. You're always going to have losers. But right now, everything's turned out to be well.
Okay, awesome, man.
Yeah. And then, of course, I think I have a time deposit and a multi-currency account where the rest just stays, and I just use that whenever necessary.
Okay. So when you say private equity, what do you mean by that?
Micro investing in new startups, things that are not publicly available to invest in, things that are not when something IPOs, the public can start to invest in it. It would be investing in a business on the ground floor. Yeah.
So are you the one going out and looking for this as a venture capitalist, or how does that work?
So I have a group of people, and what they do is they do due diligence on private equity opportunities, and they make sure to pass all their tests. They'll write up a report, and then of course they'll do a recording. There'll be a report from the company, a report from them, a recording, an interview they did, and pretty much all these things get put on my desk, and then I can decide how much money I want to put into something like this.
Man, big boss problems now.
No. I don't know. Again, I'm new to it. I'm only doing small investments. The smallest investment I did was $2K into one private equity deal, and then $25K into another private equity deal.
But still, when you were, let's say you were out of high school, right?
Right.
Didn't go to college.
Right.
Did you ever think that you would be in this situation?
No, I didn't. I did not. And it's been definitely a learn as you go thing. And, that you need to be able to self-diagnose and look where you're at, look where you're going, and definitely stay ethical, stay helpful. So, no, I never expected to be in this kind of position. But, I'm very, very grateful to be in it. It's always, you need to recognize that you might not always be in this position, and then not become a bad person either. You know what I mean? You need to stay ethical, help new people, learn from people who are above you, get motivated by people at your level.
Nice.
Yeah.
Stay humble.
I'm rambling now.
No, I like it. And, even Sam Marks, if you guys haven't listened to that interview, definitely listen to it. This guy sold his company for, I think it was, how many million? 25 million?
He was on your podcast, man.
I don't remember now. No, it was $100 million. And he still stays humble. He flies coach every other time just so he doesn't get used to it. He doesn't spend money on crazy stuff.
It seemed like a pretty cool dude. Yeah. Where is he? Bring him on over here.
He actually might just be upstairs.
He lives here. I didn't know that. That's pretty wild. You can literally go knock on this dude's door.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. That podcast. A couple other talks. Yeah. Great information. Great information.
So let me ask you. So why are you on this podcast? Why do you want to share all this information?
Probably because I know what it feels like to be at rock bottom in the business world and personal world, I guess too, and give people who are starting out or at our level, motivation to continue and stay gold, pony boy.
Is that from a movie?
Oh yeah, man, Outsiders.
I haven't seen it.
It has a book and a movie. Okay, skip it. Let's go on to something else.
But like definitely like stay on track. Keep hustling. Keep working.
Yeah, absolutely. Stay on track. Keep hustling. Keep working. Network. Make new friends. Travel. Have fun.
Yeah. But at the same time, I think like a big takeaway from this, I think what's crazy is I think a lot of people, more than any other episode, stopped listening after the first 10 minutes. Not because you didn't have a great story or, you're not successful or you're not giving value, but because right in the first 10 minutes, you kind of like said all these things they're difficult, that make people think like, man, this is a lot of work. And I bet you a ton of people just stop listening. They're like, this is not the business for me. I'm not going to get into private labeling. Skip. Let me go to
that's actually why I started with the hard stuff, man, because you're gonna have to root out a certain percentage. But oh man, where was I going with this? I'm one of those people, actually. I'm usually one of those people where if it's doom and gloom in the beginning, I turn off. I stop being one of those people. But I personally, I think I just like to I like to trim off the fat and get to the meat, because we only have so much time in our lives to find out what's really going to make a difference.
How did you kind of make that mindset shift?
What mindset? As far as what?
So as far as like you said like before, like if you would hear how hard something is, you hear all the downsides, you might just stop it and be like, that's too much work. And you said now you're the opposite. Now you'll see, it's hard work. You'll see all the downsides, the doom, and you'll be like, okay, well, I can get through that.
Yeah, absolutely. You should have a good understanding of both sides. And don't think too far into the future either, right? Especially when some people start out and they start seeing success, they start thinking about all their cool cars and cool houses and whatever they can possibly buy in the future. Now, focus on where you're at and focus on the growth. Don't worry about the future. Always be looking at the big picture into the future, but don't be silly with material goods and things you aren't capable of owning it.
I think like for me, like I'm putting myself in the shoes of someone just starting out, and part of me wants to give them the recommendation, like, don't worry about anything we just talked about in this whole episode. Just get started. No matter what, like, the only thing you should take away from this episode is whatever happens, you'll get through it and it'll be worth it at the end of the day. The other part of me wants to kind of think like, maybe it's good to know all the possible downsides, know the big picture, and kind of work your way backwards, assuming everything's going to be successful. You're going to sell the business one day. So set it up from day one like that. But at the same time, if people kind of overthink it and start thinking all these things, maybe they'll just never get started.
Yeah, absolutely. You definitely want to, what was this theory? It was, okay, help me out here. It was something like ready, fire, aim.
Yeah.
Ready, fire, aim. You need to have that mentality to a certain point, but also understand the risk involved in what you're getting into. So dive into it, but know the risks, and then that should find you a good balance.
I like it. Yeah, I definitely like it. And so actually one of the reasons why I didn't want to talk about selling my businesses yet is I wanted to do like a big, like, I don't know, I don't want to say like a press report, but like have almost like a whole episode dedicated to kind of breaking down everything behind it. Because I think a lot of times when people kind of hear about an exit, they assume
that it's going to happen.
Yeah. Or
right.
Yeah. I mean, and this might take another, month, 6 months, whoever knows, or I might decide to just keep the store, but I think it's awesome just knowing that I have that option, that it's, that there are two people willing to give me $60,000 and $65,000 for a business that I built for $29.
That's pretty baller.
The first month of Shopify, yeah. No inventory, never spent any inventory. And it's insane, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. Yeah, for sure. And I don't know. I want to add something to this. I forgot what it was, though.
No. Yeah. I mean, so I think it's awesome that you're still excited about creating new brands. Is it? Do you think it's more of like a?
Sometimes holding on to passion becomes hard with difficulties. But yeah, you definitely gotta fight through the low points. You know what I mean? Yeah. Sometimes you will lose your passion because you're just going to, get hit with all these obstacles. Shout out to Peter on StoreTasker.com. That dude is an animal with Shopify. Just absolutely savant. I've been kind of going through a little 48-hour nightmare moving my one of my brand websites from WordPress to Shopify, and this guy, yeah, he's the man. He made it happen.
Okay, so what do they actually do?
I'm sorry, what, Store Tasker?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's they do web development for Shopify.
Okay. Oh, nice.
Yeah, if anything from building a complete store, one jobs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. So what made you start on WordPress, and why did you want to switch to Shopify?
Oh, well, because I didn't know anything other than WordPress in the beginning. And then once I started seeing Shopify, I'm like, wow, this is way better. So I just made that switch. I made it way later than I should have. But yeah, I made that switch, and I probably won't go back.
Yeah. I
mean WordPress is great for, if somebody's just doing a blog or some other types of websites. But as far as e-commerce of physical goods, I don't think anything can touch Shopify.
Yeah. I've tried all the other different ones like BigCommerce, the WordPress ones, and Shopify has been amazing. It's been 2.5 years, and this is another reason why I'm glad I started with Anton's course and I didn't try to do it on my own. Is because I know most people who started on their own, they spent a lot of time using like WooCommerce or those free plugins for WordPress, or like another alternative that's a little bit cheaper, or whatever it is, and they ended up spending more time and more money trying to, like, a big headache trying to switch back over to Shopify, when I never had to deal with that, because when Anton said in module 3, okay guys, now it's time to sign up for Shopify, I'm like, okay, done.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, just to be clear, you can definitely make progress and build businesses on custom websites and WordPress, because that's what I did. But yeah, once you get the Shopify bug, there's really no going back.
Yeah, 100%. And I actually have a 20% off coupon for anyone listening. I don't even know how you get it. I think if you just go to johnnyfd.com and sign up for the mailing list, it gets sent out. It's my dropshipping discounts PDF. It's everything that I personally use for all my stores, including Shopify, the email service I use, like all the apps I use. Everything's listed, and if there is a coupon or a discount for it, I have a link to it. So look for it on there. I think you can also find it on my recommended resources page. So definitely check that out, because I'm paying $79 a month for my Shopify premium plan for one of my stores. And then because I didn't have the coupon when I first signed up. And then for my second store, because I did have the coupon, now I'm only paying $59 a month. So it's a huge difference. I'm saving like $18 a month, kind of added up every single month. And when you're kind of starting a business, I think it's so, like, I don't know what it is. Like it's one of those things where, like, you want to save as much money as possible. Like, even if you start making a lot.
Yeah, because the future is always unknown. That's the whole idea of diversifying yourself and saving a little bit of money, because the future can be unknown, especially in business.
Yeah, but it's I mean, that's the whole definition of being an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah, and it's not for everybody, but it's definitely rewarding once you get past those mental barriers that we just talked about.
So do you think these are like more mental barriers, or do you think these are like real barriers where some people, they just like shouldn't?
Well, failing and not being able to try again is some kind of barrier. You know what I mean? I don't know if you want to call it mental or physical, but failing and not being able, failing, and not being able to try again, that's a problem. But the rest should be, overcomable.
Yeah, I think, taking that a little bit further, I think
just fail better each time.
Yeah, and that's great that you bring that up, because I think if someone fails and then they cannot blame, they feel like the need to blame someone else, you shouldn't be an entrepreneur. Like, if you, like, let's say you sign up for a course, or you like kind of just try to back analyze what we've been saying, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna give this a shot, and you fail. If you blame someone else, you're probably not going to be a good entrepreneur. But if you instead, you're like, okay, that didn't work, let me figure out why that didn't work. Let me see if there's anything I did incorrectly, or I could have done better next time, or what are some lessons I've learned from it. And then you try again, and then you do and you repeat that until you're successful. That is the trait of an entrepreneur that's going to be successful.
Yeah, no, I agree with that for sure.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, the biggest problem, that I hear with this digital nomad movement and entrepreneur movement is it makes it sound so easy, right?
Yeah, that's something I forgot about. I want to talk about. In 2016, this is not part-time. Maybe it is for certain people, but for me, this is not part-time. This requires my full attention. I need to be able to show up and apply constant pressure, every single day to get this to work.
So even now, like, can you tell me kind of like your work schedule?
Yeah. So I wake up, I do my best to have breakfast before checking emails. All right. So I'll wake up, I'll eat, I'll get right into it. May try and make some sweet coffee or tea we talked about, and just get right into it. Stretch out a little bit if I'm going to spend some time on a computer. Knock out those emails if there's anything that needs my attention. Focus on some growth. Take a break. Usually go to the gym and come back and then go for another grind session, and then try to finish by evening. And every day, I feel like every day is going to be a good 4 to 6 to 8 hours of work.
Wow,
Try
so
to cap it off. Now, don't get me wrong. I've had to do marathons like I did for this past 48 hours, but I try to do that to keep sane and stay healthy.
So you work like a pretty like a normal 30-40 hour work week.
I'm lying. We can't call it 40. We just can't. I'm probably doing 25 to on this on my personal businesses. I'm probably doing 25 to 30 a week. Let's say 25 a week, and then extra time on the other things we talked about.
Okay, but I think a big
Learning,
difference,
growth, new skills, things like that.
Yeah, and I think one of the differences between us working, let's say, even 20 hours a week versus working 20 hours a week at a normal job is when we're working at a normal job, we're not really working 40 hours a week.
No, because we have to pay for gasoline and have a car and do social stuff. Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, like, even when I'm sitting at my cubicle at my old corporate job, I wasn't working 40 hours a week. I was messing around. I was at the water cooler chit-chatting with my colleagues.
Oh, you're talking about making well, of course not. Yeah, because it's a job. You don't really care. If it doesn't affect your paycheck, you don't care.
Yeah.
Like, let's be real here. Even myself, if I'm back when I had a job, I was like, ugh. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, if it's not going to affect my paycheck, I really don't want to go ahead and put extra work in.
And as much as you could get away with it, we'd be on Facebook or chatting or just doing anything else, pretty much.
Yeah.
But
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but when you say you work 20, 25 hours a week as an entrepreneur, those are probably productive times, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's really making progress type work. And I don't want to make myself sound like I was a bad worker when I had a job. I was good. I held passion on. I tried to do as real as possible, but everybody has their limit, as far as that goes.
I think I was a great worker for the first year because I was excited about it, right?
Yeah,
I felt
that
like
excitement, that passion.
Yeah. And I think, my second year, my sitting in the cubicle, like I was like nothing I'm doing is really making a difference. The manager doesn't want to hear my ways that I can help improve the business. They're having us come to these these meetings every week that are a complete waste of our time. We're filling out these reports that don't need to be filled out. They're just kind of just random bureaucracy and paperwork.
Yeah, losing time. Let's just talk about that. I hate losing time. I think I hate losing time more than I hate losing money, because we can always get more money. We can't get more time. But of course, when you lose large amounts of money, you lose a certain amount of time at the same time because you put your time to make that money. So I guess it's a little paradoxical right there.
How does your life change now that you have a lot more income coming in?
Nothing has changed. Absolutely nothing. No, there is no difference. I probably spend less money on myself now than I did when I had a job.
That's crazy.
Or when I was at university.
So, what are your monthly expenses kind of on average?
Oh,
what do you pay for rent?
I aim for, my rent is $290. All right. And it's a little condo. All right. It's a big condo. It's fully furnished. It's got a kitchen. You know what I mean? It's got a sweet balcony. It's big with a little dinner table on it. Swimming pool, gym. Yeah. So there you go.
200. What were you spending back home for rent before you made this move?
Oof. So probably 600 minimum.
Okay, yeah. And it probably wasn't your own place with a swimming pool and a gym.
No.
Yeah.
No, of course not. No. But nonetheless, it doesn't matter where I'm living. I don't care if I'm living in the U.S. or somewhere else. I'm always going to live below my means. You know what I mean? Could I go buy a sweet Aston Martin or something? Yeah, I could, but that would be the stupidest waste of money I could possibly do, man. I'm good with that Ford Explorer. I'm good with being conservative with my dining out. I mean, I dine out all the time here, but I'm talking about I'm not going for steaks every day or something like that. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's just my mentality. I live very, very low, minimalist, if you will.
Somebody just left a comment on my last income report. So every month, if you guys don't check the blog, Jenny FD, I put out exactly how much money I make from all my different sources. And one guy, he commented saying, Johnny, if you're really making $15K a month, why are you living in a place that's $300 a month for rent? He's like, if I was making 15,000, I would be, I would like move into a much nicer place. I'd like ball out, spend more money. And I really wanted to comment saying, this is why you're broke.
Dude, yes, you took the words out of my mouth. I'm glad you said it, not me. I didn't want to. Yeah, no, man, no. That's not what you want to do. You want to put your money into assets, not liabilities. If anybody doesn't know the difference, assets are intended to make you money. Liabilities do nothing but take from you. So you want to put your money into assets.
I'm glad you said that because I actually responded to him and I was like, let me not call this guy an idiot or.
Yeah, we got to be nice and diplomatic.
Yeah. So
everybody's got their breaking point, though.
Yeah. So I said to him, I said, you should check out these following books. And I recommended Rich Dad Poor Dad. And also, because in that book, you learn about buying assets versus liabilities. And then also, I think I mentioned like MJ DeMarco's book, Millionaire Fastlane.
Ooh, didn't read that. Do I need to?
No, you don't need to because you already had that mindset.
So it's a conceptual book then.
Yeah. It's one of those things where I think if you're the type who thinks it's okay to spend $150 on a pair of Jordans or the Kanye West shoes, you should read the book.
Nah, man. I bought these sweet Puma knockoffs at the night market for like $15. You can't even tell.
That's so crazy. But I mean, so actually I'm at a point now as a premium buyer, I will spend, 50, 60, actually I don't even know. It's so crazy calling that a premium buyer, but like I'll buy the real pair of Converse. I'll buy the real Adidas.
Okay, yeah. So that goes back to the premium product that we mentioned. I destroy shoes. So it's yeah. I'm not responsible with my shoe wearing. That's why I went with that particular shoes.
But wouldn't like if you bought like the real brand, wouldn't it last longer?
Not with me, man, because I'm a child. I mean, I'll be walking through I'll step in a puddle. You know what I mean? I'll be in the mud. I can't be trusted with shoes. Now, if we were going to talk about, let's say, I seen you at Fight Fit the other day, right? As far as gloves, headgear, a computer, these things I will go premium on, like we talked about.
Okay. Yeah. Definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
Man,
sure.
I love getting into like this mindset. And this is why we do 1 hour podcasts is because the first like 30, 40 minutes is always kind of like, this like standard, right? But then like once we get over kind of like that 45-minute mark, you really start getting a sense of the way someone's mind really works.
Yeah, I didn't even realize it until you said it. The beginning of this podcast was slow starting and kind of doomy. Why don't you put a note in there to telling your listeners to get past the first 15 minutes or something?
No, actually, I've done this on purpose now where I know 100% if I started every podcast like all the the top 10 podcasts with like the hypey ones saying like in this week's episode we have Cory and Michael who makes I'm gonna explain how he sold his businesses for $365,000, and if you stick to the very end you're gonna find the 4 mindset tips that will change your life. The reason why I don't do that is because I want people listening to the show to grind. I want the type of people that are like, you know what? I'm going to listen to it because I know I'm going to learn something from every single guest. And I'm going to take action no matter what.
That's good. That's having a high quality demographic around you. That's pretty smart.
Yeah. I mean, once in a while, I'm like, oh man, it would be nice to have, to grow the podcast even more, right? To have even more listeners, to get to that top 10 business podcasts section. Because sometimes I listen to the other guys.
Yeah.
And I'm like, who are these people with these fake voices that aren't really delivering like real content? They're just kind of delivering like sound bites of what people want to hear. They're not really diving deep. People aren't going to get as much value out of those as they are listening to you, to what you really like.
Yeah, no, this is one of my favorite words actually, transparency. Yeah, transparency is something I really value because it's hard to find in today's world, and business world. You know what I mean? So. What we're talking about is what I can offer you. I can't. I'm not gonna, put on my sales copy voice. I'm not trying to sell you anything, but yeah. Hopefully somebody's getting some good information out of here. Something else premium I bought: backpack and travel bag. Yeah, we got the sweet Patagonia bag for traveling. Amazing.
Nice.
Yeah,
I like it.
That one I'll obviously have forever.
I'm a very recent convert of spending more money on high quality items as well. So. It's good. It's good to kind of know that most successful people that I meet, especially in this digital nomad world, I think we actually kind of have very similar mindsets. I think it's one of those things where, like, the kind of takeaways, if you guys want to like kind of re-listen to this episode or just kind of think back on the things that we kind of both do, even though we are in kind of different businesses, I think we have like really similar mindsets, thinking, you know what, we're just going to grind. We're just going to keep pushing. We're not going to overspend money, and we're just going to keep working.
Yeah. It's, once you start to enjoy it, that takes a different level. I mean, burnout is a thing that happens. I've experienced that before. Burnout happens, but, once you start to enjoy the journey a little bit, then that's where you get a fuller appreciation, I think.
So if you were to, just wanted to take a break, or let's say you got a little bit burnt out, right? You wanted just to chill, or if you had, a friend in town, would you be able to kind of put your business into maintenance mode and just work for?
Yeah, absolutely. I have the web developer we talked about. I have a customer service person who handles all the customer service, emails, comments, things like that. They would only contact me if something went terribly wrong and they didn't know how to fix it. And then a social media guy, hopefully he'll get started this week. So yeah, a lot of things are on autopilot, but growth, what do I handle myself? Growth, product development, because I like doing that. Big wire transfers, because, there's only a certain amount of money I'm going to trust anybody with. And speaking with a new supplier. These are all things I do myself.
Yeah, I think that's really smart. I think that's...
Now, I do know people who outsource even these things. You know what I mean? I know there's a lot of people out there who do more volume and more revenue and more everything than I do. And they also have a much higher risk tolerance, and they just, have, they got 4 different brands. They have a whole other bunch of projects and things like this. That's not me right now. I don't know if it ever will be, but that is just what I've said before. That's just what I do.
I like it. So kind of to sum it all up and also kind of give people kind of like a future idea of what you're up to. How long ago did you start your first brand?
First brand was March of 2013.
Okay, nice. Pretty much the exact same time I started my first dropshipping store. So
yeah, cool, man. I actually didn't start making any money though. Like I said, that first year was a total loss for me as far as income.
So until March of 2014.
Well, I mean, I think I started seeing the light a little bit around August.
Okay.
Because when I first started, I mean, production was like 2 months. Sea shipping, that was like another month. So I really didn't start seeing any revenue come in until about the August time frame. Because, again, there was a lot of other problems that happened also. But it was a slow start. I think I started seeing the light around August, December.
Okay, oh, nice.
Yeah.
All right. So started around the same time. With dropshipping, because we don't have to wait for actual physical products to come, because we're just getting them drop shipped a lot faster. So within 2 months, I had my first sale and I started making money. But kind of fast forward, you ended up selling your business for almost double what I could potentially sell mine for. And the reasons for that is with private label, you have probably better profit margins, I would assume.
I don't know. I don't think so. To stay, I shouldn't just to stay competitive, but with what I do, I need to aim for at least a $10 profit margin on anything I sell. If I'm not making at least $10 every time, I won't do it.
Is there like a percentage that translates?
Well, I mean, those profit margins should increase as you order more volume and as you have more customers coming in. So your profit margins really should increase in the future. But if something doesn't have the potential to be at least $10, then I wouldn't mess with it.
Okay. Makes sense.
So, I mean, your profit margins with dropshipping should be really greater. I mean, when you guys make a sale, you make a lot more money, right?
Yeah, but we sell more expensive products. So I think that one of the big differences
is... so you sell more expensive products and I sell more per day, I guess we would say.
Exactly.
Okay.
So you're selling $30 products, but you're selling how many a day?
Let's see here. So I think right now with the new brand I'm at, again, this is just brand new. If I'm not doing at least 25 per day, something's wrong.
Okay. Yeah. So like for me, like today,
and that's just one product, by the way. That's one product. That's not even counting the other ones and things like that.
Okay, so for one brand, okay,
one brand, one product. Yeah.
So for me, most of my products are between $600 to $2,000, but I only sold 2 today. So so I think at the end of the day, it kind of adds up to be the same. Where like maybe total revenue is probably very similar, but with dropshipping, I'm only trying to sell 1 or 2 products a day. I'm pretty happy with that. 30 to 50 products a month, but each product might have between a $50 and maybe $300 net profit, versus you might sell 25 products a day with a $10 net profit. So it still ends up kind of being kind of similar, I think. But what's nice about private labeling is you can justify spending money growing the brand. Like you can justify spending money on social media, as well as creating, not only do you have your Shopify store, but you also have your Amazon store, driving advertising to it, things like that.
Yeah, there's also other channels. Like I know some people had a lot of success moving on to eBay and Jet also. But yeah, for sure. I mean, with my old brands, I've had days, if I put both brands combined, I've done, 150, 200 units a day before.
Oh, nice. So,
but that's usually like Christmas season.
Okay.
Yeah, but no, I feel like I was a little bit of a slow learner because I've seen people who made lots of big progress much faster than I did. But with this new brand coming up and, the upward skyrocketing line I can do with it, I feel like this is going to be the bigger one for me.
So how many brands do you have currently now?
Let's see here. Right now, just this one I'm working on that I completely own with my name on it. It's just this one. So I had 2 previously I sold, and now I have this one plus some other projects that are not private label. So
okay, nice. And future plans?
Build this one up to a good number I can foresee, and hopefully sell this one for over $1 million if I had my way.
Really?
If I had my way.
Wow.
Yeah. Now it's going to require a lot of overhead spending and growth.
Okay.
But I feel like this one's definitely possible to do that.
How long?
With my new skills, with my team, with everything I've learned thus far, I feel like that's definitely possible.
That's crazy. I love that, man. How long has this one been selling for now?
This one just went live in January 1st.
Okay.
And immediately, with very, very minimal effort, this one went with one product to like $35K monthly.
So about $35,000 in sales a month.
Right, correct.
And then,
revenue.
so profit for that is probably at least 10,000. All right.
Yeah, it's over 10 for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
it's probably around, again, I'm always a conservative guesser. I could tell you if I pulled out my P&Ls, but profit margin should be at least 40% at this point.
Nice. And then right now, are you reinvesting most of that back
yeah,
into inventory,
pretty much all of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
because I don't want to run out of inventory.
Okay.
Again, I didn't expect the growth I had, so I actually did run out of inventory.
Oh, did you?
But
Nice.
we're back in stock and selling again now, and
Okay.
picked up right where we left off. So actually, I'm going to invest even more money into making sure that never happens again.
So how much would you have to make per month net profit for it to be worth $1 million?
Okay, so I'm going to pull out my calculator
Yeah,
here.
go ahead.
I guess we would just do some basic math, and people listening probably already know the answer, and we don't, which is embarrassing.
So if it's a 36 multiplier,
yeah, sure.
would that mean you'd have to make $27,000 a month in net profit?
So that means, so let's say just on the safe side, we would have to have probably about 90-ish per month in revenue.
Okay.
Which is very doable, especially if you add multiple products and you build the premium products, they're high priced, and you keep email lists are not created equally. You know what I mean? So you want to have definitely a good email list of people who are engaged. And so let's see here. If this product was to stay at 35, I could add 2 more that I could strategically pick with my own algorithm. And, there's some basic skills. There's a lot of tools out there. I don't really use them, but like a lot of people use Jungle Scout to come up with ideas or something else. So yeah, that means 90K in revenue would be able to be done and probably be ready to go at that point.
I like it, man.
Yeah.
No,
the thing is, you need to hold it though. You need to be able to hold it and show it's going to continue that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you can hold that for a year,
yeah,
then
that's how you would do it.
I like it.
Actually, this is kind of an important concept too.
Yeah.
I learned this just by doing what I do. But there was somebody off Shark Tank, I believe he said, the fastest and most reasonable, if not the only way to get wealthy, it's to build a business, sell it, and then invest smartly and repeat the process. Because there's really nothing else in this. You can't really get a job. I mean, I guess you could if you were, I don't know, a pilot for SpaceX or something. You know what I mean? But for an average person, the easiest way to get wealthy is to build and sell a company, make smart investments, and repeat the process.
Thank you for leaving us with that, because that makes so much sense. If you guys don't understand that, rewind this, write that down until that drills in your head. It's and the reason why that works is it's almost like arbitraging time, because if you build a business that makes, let's say, $1,000 a month in profit, right? In a year, that's $12,000, right? But if you sell it at the end of the year and you get a 25 to 35 multiple, all right, that's might be another, say, $30,000. So all of a sudden, for 1 year of work, instead of you making $12,000, you made $42,000, which is insane, because it's like you're getting paid for 2 to 3 years in advance for building something. And if you do that every year, and you every single time, you build a more expensive product that has more profit, that has more revenue, and because even like with your stuff, the first stores that you sold, like how much was that doing per month in either revenue or profit?
On average, if you totaled them both together, it should have been probably around the 40 range. And then, of course, during Christmas, that's when you would have got to the 80 or more.
And then your second product, was that like a higher?
Each company I built's been better each time.
Yeah.
And if I sold these two beginner companies for $365 and there was multiple people interested in it, there's no reason I can't get this next one to be triple that or something.
Yeah,
the assets I've
that was the
acquired
exact point I wanted to bring up. Is every single time you build something, it gets better and better. The more money you invest into it, the more time, the more knowledge you invest into it, the higher the payout. So that $1,000 a month in profit, that turns into $42,000. Why not sell a product that makes $2,000 a month of profit and have a $82,000 payout? And then do the math for $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000. It's insane.
Yeah, exactly. And it's very possible, especially with the internet. So, yeah.
I love it. So, hey, thank you so much for being on the show, Cory.
Pleasure was all mine. I hope somebody out there got some good information, maybe some good mindset. Be all right.
I love it. How can people get in touch with you?
Through you.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So if you guys want to ask, Cory any questions, just leave a comment on episode 113 of the Travel Like a Boss podcast. I'll pass it along. It's really awesome that you came on the show just to help people and share your story.
Yeah, I hope. Yeah. I don't have nothing else to add to that. Yeah, I hope if I made a positive influence in one person, at least I'm happy.
Yeah, if you guys did, please leave a comment on the show notes or in the Travel Like a Boss Army, and that way I can forward that to Cory, because I'm sure he would love to hear that, man. So, once again, thank you guys all, and I will see you all next week. Peace out. Thank you for listening to the Travel Like a Boss podcast. If you want to hear more, including the bonus How to Choose the Perfect Niche episode, join our mailing list at travellikeabosspodcast.com. See you next week, and remember, if you want to travel like a boss, you need to be your own boss. So start your online business today and start living the lifestyle you've always dreamed of.